Okay, but I'm not going to mute to mute you, Jackie.
Okay. Heidi, are you there? Because I can't hear anything.
So let me start over. That was ridiculous. Okay, I'm gonna.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, so let me try again. Sorry,
Okay.
you didn't get to hear all the nice things I just said about Jackie, did you?
No, I didn't.
Ah, hey, Jackie, I was just singing your praises. So, anyways, Jackie Brewster is just an amazing girl, super talented. This girl works with some difficult teens, some difficult situations, and handles it with just grace and, but also I think, a firm heart, but coming out of a place of a beautiful heart. And I have just had the privilege to get to know her better over the years. And she is the reason why this whole program is able to run. And the girl can sew like crazy. She's just very creative and talented. So we're really blessed to have you, Jackie. And we're
Thank
grateful
you.
for the work that you do. And she's always up for anything. And I saw her today, and we were brainstorming some new ideas of some things that maybe we can get working on with the girls. So excited about just what's to come, and where we are right now, but also where we're going to be. So we when we started, let's see, Jackie, gosh, it's been almost the whole time we have been in existence. It took us about a year to kind of get this program off the ground, get through all the red tape, to set this up. And just a really cool thing is, so Wedgwood Christian Services, and Jackie will be able to speak to this a little bit better, but the organization that we work with. Oh, thank you. Bye. Awesome job. Okay, sounds good. Saying bye to the photographer. So yes, when we started, we really weren't sure what this was going to be able to look like. So we're just really excited about what that looks like. Jackie, I'm just going to let you take it from here. If you could explain a little bit about how this is set up, like what, I know because the Manassa Project, Wedgwood Christian Services, people might ETP, like, can you explain what those three things are
Yep.
for girls and how
Yeah.
they work together?
Yes. So Wedgwood Christian Services deals with at-risk youth. It's an agency that has been in existence for, I want to say, oh my gosh, maybe 40 to 50 years. I have been with the agency for 18 years and have just loved almost every day of my employment there. Like I said, I started 18 years ago, and I started an employment training program there because there was just a need to get these youth that were severely neglected, abused. They've kind of graduated out of foster care, but more so in a negative way because no other foster home would take them. For example, these kids have been in 18 foster homes in 1 year. And so they come to Wedgwood to get rehabilitated, get some
Max, you have
intense
to be quiet.
therapy. And they just really, most of the kids are going to be going into independent living because there's no other route for them to go. And so I got hired into this program, and it was myself and about 6 kids when I first started. And it was just a huge program in need. I've always been, I was an educator for a year, graduated from college to be a high school teacher. And that was not my passion. I really kind of loved the naughty kids that first year teaching. And I thought I have to do something more to help this population because for some reason I just connect with them. And I'm not a naughty person, you guys, but for some reason they just, I really connected with them. Like they just, I don't even know how else to explain it. So I got hired at Wedgwood, and I've always been used to laborious work my whole life, really. And so I started with about 6 to 8 kids that first year and just teaching them how to work, going over job skills, job training. This is basically the ins and outs of employment, what not to do to get fired. And, I don't want these kids to just settle with supplemental income, disability. They're going to live in poverty the rest of their lives. And so I always wanted these kids to realize that there is something more out there for them. And here I am 18 years later with over 100 kids now that work in the program. And I have about 10 staff and about, I want to say 5 years ago, maybe, Wedgwood saw a need for a home and let me just kind of bypass that. We have about 100 kids that live on campus. And so on the campus, we have homes per se, and each home has a different name. And so about 5 years ago, Wedgwood saw a huge need to house girls that were being sex trafficked or severely sexually abused, either whether they were in foster homes or just, they kind of ran the streets and were sexually abused time and time and time again because they just had no self-worth, no common sense really to say no because they were just constantly seeking that type of love that they never got their whole lives. And so it was, on the up and up, this huge, it was just getting more popular in the media. And so Wedgwood opened up a home to house these girls. And I slowly started employing them to let them know what it was like to make an honest dollar. And in walked the door one day of Crown Free because they were getting the tour of Wedgwood. And it was just, I think I was sewing something when Heidi, you walked in the door and they're like, "Oh, you sew?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I sew." And I made a demo pillow for them and they just Heidi came up with this whole concept of, hiring these girls, only the girls that have been victims of sex trafficking or severely sexually abused that live in this home, to train them to make these pillows. And so, long story short, here we are, hundreds and hundreds of pillows later. And I think I have employed, I want to say up to now, oh my gosh, it has been about 3 years, I think, 3 years in the making. I think within those 3 years, I have employed over 20 girls now to make these pillows. And we actually, I'm just super happy to say that just this past week, we taught the girls how to screen print. And so now the pillows from A to Z are being made 100% by these girls. It is just phenomenal. We're training these girls. They're working about 4 days a week on making these pillows, anywhere from screen printing now to cutting the fabric to actually sitting at the sewing machine and sewing, putting the pillows together, the packaging of it all. And it is the most beautiful thing in the world to see these girls and see them interact with each other, just even have that respect, that self-esteem boost that they get. It's amazing. It is so amazing to see these girls just grow. I mean, they come into work and their attitudes suck. They just, they don't think they can do anything. They're just, they've been told their whole lives they're worthless. And then all of a sudden, even after the second day of working, they see, oh, well, yeah, I know how to sew buttons on. Oh, yeah, I know how to do that. And so then we get a new girl hired in, and they're just amazed that I'm asking them to teach someone else how to do something. Well, no one ever believed in me like that. And so, it is just, it's phenomenal to see these girls growing and just being so, so successful. that I have girls now, they're ready to get discharged from the agency to go into independent living, and they don't want to leave my program. They want to keep working. And so it's just the best thing in the world to see these girls have a smile on their face, and it's genuine. It wasn't forced by anyone for them to actually feel good about themselves. So there's my story, ladies.
Absolutely amazing.
So yeah, it is. It's very touching to see these girls working, and I think the biggest thing with them is that they just to see them flourish. It's as soon as they start believing in themselves, they just become better in every other avenue of their life. School, they start doing better in school. Their grades, I want to say about 90% of them, their grades just skyrocket. They start staying in school. They're not getting kicked out. They're more respectful to authority overall because they're kind of used to the directions now. Their interactions with each other, there isn't so much competition anymore. Just the whole, the social piece of them, they're respecting what each other person is doing because they're realizing, well, if I'm doing this part of the pillow, I need them to do that part. And it is a complete team effort. And so they have to get along. And it's just really, they're actually believing in each other, but also they're forced to get along in order for just the whole work effort to be consistent. We've had some discipline problems, but it's been really petty that it's not even worth talking about, to tell you the truth, because they don't want to lose their job. The first second of being reprimanded, it's usually just about verbal de-escalation because they're chit-chatting, they're fighting over some boy at school and they're bringing it to work. But as soon as we address that, it's normal teenage stuff. As soon as we address that, they know they're at work and there's no place for that behavior at all over here. And I just tell the kids, I'm not a soap opera. I'm not a dating service. We're making pillows. So get back to work. And they just completely get back to work because they want that paycheck. They want to feel good about themselves. And so it is just it's a phenomenal program. And even with Heidi stopping by today, it was, I just get so pumped every time I see you, Heidi, because it's like, I can't wait to start something else. Like, what are we going to do next? Because it's always just, I just want to employ more girls because I see what it's done to these girls that I've employed so far. And I just want to infect more of them and get more of them into the program because I just see what we can do with them. And I think we have to just keep moving along. That's all I can say in order to just kind of help change that whole, what's that word called? Just how this population, especially when they're labeled at-risk youth, they really get judged easily. They're stereotyped and they just, they're going to be in trouble the rest of their lives. They'll probably end up in jail or they're just going to prostitute themselves. And that's so not the case. I see it firsthand. All they really need is someone to believe in them. And it's amazing what you can get from these girls if you just show them that you believe in them.
That's so powerful, Jackie. Like, I have goosebumps all over my body, How can you share with the girls, like how old they are, the girls that you have working for you?
Yep, 15 to 18-year-olds. Typically they're 15 or 17-year-olds. I have had a couple 18-year-olds, but typically when they're 18, their funding kind of goes away. And so they have to quickly find some place for them to go. A lot of the time when they are that age, they'll just discharge. They'll get discharged from Wedgwood, and then they'll either go to an independent living home. Some have even gone into like an adult foster home to continue to prepare them to get ready. A lot of these girls I know have kind of even had to stay protected per se because of their history and where they came from. And I hate to just kind of throw it out there, but it is reality. We've had a couple of them that we've had to even kind of harbor and keep protected because they're pimps per se. They're looking for them.
Right.
We kind of rescued them for a couple years, but they haven't been forgotten by the negativity in their lives that got them there. And so we kind of have to harbor them for a little bit until we do have a new location for them. There has been some major donations given to this home, the Manassa Project, in order to even provide funding for some girls that are over 18. So if the state says, oh, your funds are dry, because that's just, depending on the county that they're from, I know that the Manassa Project then does have funds to continue to harbor some of these kids, some of these girls, until another safe location can be found. And so that's one really, really great thing, that this home offers some of these girls. And so we keep them employed. It's really safe to keep them employed on campus because they don't know where they're at anyway. And because we're a training program, and they're still a Wedgwood employee, all of our paperwork is confidential, so they don't even get like a real paycheck per se. They get paid through the training program, which is kind of cash funneling from my program into the home, and then the home gives them their paycheck. So they don't even have to go to the bank. It's really all confidential, which is it's a really safe, protective way to keep these girls employed per se, considering what they've gone through and what they could be going through at the moment.
That's awesome. Can you tell, I love that these girls have to interview for jobs. Can you talk a little bit about how you do go through the interview process? I mean, it's very professional. It's very real life.
Yep. So I have a complete application, work application that they have to fill out. They fill that out, and then depending on their programming and how these girls have been doing in school so far, if they've just been doing their daily house chore, if they have been really taking care of themselves, like showering every day, they've got the good hygiene and things like that, they've been respectful in the home, then I will, and their caseworker approves it, I will set up an interview then with the girls, one-on-one. And so they'll come to my office for an interview, and I give them a regular job interview, 20 to 30 questions. After the questions, I then give them feedback on the application. I tell them all the do's and don'ts as far as how to fill out an application. And then I also then give them feedback on the actual interview when they're done. I tell them anywhere from their appearance to their presentation, to if they answer the questions properly. I wish I had a sheet in front of me, but I have about 15 things on a checklist that I actually score them on, and we go through all of the things that are looked at, kind of like a first impression, and why that's so important in a job interview. And then we go over the references, and we talk about what are appropriate references, why are some people inappropriate references, and then I actually email those references right then and there, right in front of the students, so that way they know exactly what I'm looking for. And then I tell them call me back within 3 to 5 days to find out if they got hired. And depending on if the references came back, which are strictly staff and their therapist or their caseworker or whatnot, if the feedback is good from them, then I will then hire them, but they have to call me to find out if they got hired or not. I tell them if they don't call me, I'm going to hire somebody else, because that tells me they weren't that interested if they never called back to check up on their interview. And so pending that phone call, they will then get hired, and then I give them orientation, all the rules, dress code, attendance policy, just everything about the overall program. And then they start work, and they have a weekly schedule that they are responsible for knowing, and they clock in and out on a real-time clock, and we take it from there.
So great. That's awesome. And I love today, like when I chatted with you, when you were talking about how quickly these girls picked up the screen printing side of it. That's so fantastic. Like,
yeah,
pulled through it.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because in the beginning I honestly was super shady about it, because there's so many details to look at with the screen printing. But I think making these pillows really prepared them, because it's all about quality control. Even with these pillows, like the button has to be perfectly placed. The medallion goes in one spot, and how many how many loops of the purple thread per se on things, and the crown free tag has to be exactly in the middle of the inside of the pillow. And so I think with those details that we taught them, they were already detail oriented, and then as soon as we brought out the screen printing. And so it was just phenomenal to see. I mean, some of these girls, they were so picky. I think they were a little bit pickier than me. So it was just so cute that they really know what they're doing. And I just can't even believe it. Like, I could not believe how fast they picked up and how confident they were in themselves. And it's funny because even today, like, I saw some of them and I asked them, I said, hey, if I asked you to do this like 2-3 months ago when you first started, do you think you'd be able to do it? And both of these girls just started cracking up and they were like, oh my gosh, no, I never would have even tried. I wouldn't have even wanted to watch you because I never thought I would be able to do something like this. And so it was great. I mean, even some of the staff said that all weekend these girls were bragging. Kids were making, or other kids were wearing T-shirts around the house, and these girls were like, oh, that's screen printed. We could make that for you. And so now these girls think that they can make any type of T-shirt and everything. It's so cute. But it's just, I mean, they're totally identifying things right now, and it's just awesome. It's awesome because there's no way they ever would have noticed that stuff prior to this weekend, even when they were screen printing. It was just really cool.
Right. Oh, that's great. Can you tell them about the little incentive program that we have set up for them?
Yeah. So the girls, which they absolutely love, they all have their, we have a really cute string hanging in the back of our sewing center, and clothespins hang up each one of their incentive papers. And on this incentive paper, they have to learn, I think it's all 6 aspects of the pillow, and then they have to put in so many hours of making the pillow. So it's, anything from sewing the button on, sewing the tag on, sewing on the machine, fraying the face of the pillow, the top, the face of the, what do you call that, Heidi?
The patch.
The part that's frayed.
The
patch. Yep. So, the big section that gets sewn on top of the pillow. So fraying that properly, knowing how to package it properly and all that stuff. So, and then I think they have to accomplish a total of 40 hours working on pillows. So that includes everything from buttons to fitting in the machine, everything. So after 40 hours of that, then they get to pick their own pillow. They get a free pillow. And I'll tell you what, these girls are, every time they work, they're counting their hours up. They won't miss a beat. They want to make sure that what they learned and, is this good enough? Can you initial this part on my incentive plan? And I want to say, I think we're up to 5 or 6 pillows that we've given away to these girls. And then I've got about 6 more girls that are really close to getting a pillow. So yeah, they love it. And it's great because then they'll take it back to the unit, and then staff are like, hey, how'd you get that pillow? And so even staff are asking about these pillows. And it's just hilarious. The girls you have to go online and you have to go to crownfree.com. And so it is so cute. These girls are just throwing the pitch out there. And just the ownership that they have over this. It is so awesome. They're like little mini business managers. It's just crazy how they're even learning the whole aspect of even the business, because we do go over the budget, we go over timelines, how long it's supposed to take us to make a pillow in order for us to make all the costs covered. And so we just teach them every aspect of this whole program, so that way they can kind of figure things out on their own as they get older.
Oh, so good. So good. Thank you, Jackie. Let's see here. We have a question from Tracy. Any success stories after they are out of the program? Do you stay in touch with them? Do you have anyone?
I do actually. I have about 4 girls that I can think of just off the top of my head that have been discharged. It's weird because usually after the kids get discharged, I usually don't hear from them for a few months. And then all of a sudden, I'll get a friend request from them on Facebook, or I'll get an email, or I'll just get a random phone call. And then once that next connection is made and they realize that I'm still the same person and I'm still here for them, then it's kind of like a consistent contact. It's like, you know, every couple months they check in with me, I check in with them. We have the 4 girls that I know of, they're just like randomly, I've kept in pretty close contact with them over the past 2 years, and they are very successful. One of them in particular, she's working full-time at, I want to say like Kohl's or someplace like that near the Detroit area. Another girl is getting ready full-time, a Ferris student. She's actually going to be going into Ferris this year.
Awesome.
Another girl has her own apartment downtown in Grand Rapids.
Oh,
I don't know how successful that is because she's with a family member that she wasn't really supposed to be living with, but she's working. She has stayed clean. And she's enrolled in CC. And then the other girl actually moved to Illinois with her mother and completed her GED, I want to say at the end of this past school year, and is trying to figure out what school to go in, but she's working full time as well too. So they're just, I mean, they have no problem getting hired. And that's just the great thing. I've had quite a few calls from just other places getting references on them. So all these girls are definitely using me for a reference, which is kind of a necessity for them. And I tell them that. And so it's just nice that they're following through with that. But they are, yeah, I mean, these girls, it's like as soon as they get that taste of self-esteem, they just run with it. And it's like nothing's holding them back anymore. And they're really realizing that they can be somebody and do something that can classify them as being a normal person in society. And it's just awesome.
oh, that's amazing. That's beautiful. That's so cool. Another question
Yeah.
was, what other services do they get while staying at Wedgwood at the Manassa Project?
Well, they get a lot of services. They get, are you talking about like the therapeutic aspect?
Tracy, is that what you're wondering? Yes.
Okay, so they get, I can't, well, they have lots of group therapy. One of them is called Love Notes. That's the name of this group therapy class that they all are required to attend. And that is basically about, relationships and what's appropriate and what's not. So a lot of it has to do with boundaries, and how to maintain a healthy relationship, how to identify a healthy relationship, and how to get out of an unhealthy relationship. They never focus on how to fix a relationship because they're too young for that. And so it's more about the identifying these things, because from where they came from, they weren't ever allowed that option. They were just forced to be in a bad situation. And so I know they focus very highly on, like I said, a good relationship and a bad relationship, and being able to identify those. They also do, I want to say EMT, that's not it. There's some other type of therapy. It's like a newer type of therapy that deals with trauma. And I can't remember that, but it's an intensive like trauma training therapy that they do with these girls. So they go through that. They also have every other week they go through equine therapy, where they go and deal with therapy horses. And that is just absolutely wonderful. I personally would love to go to that, but I'm not allowed. I know it. So they do that. They also go for the girls that have been kind of forced into like drug addiction or alcohol abuse and things like that because of their past. They go to NA or AA meetings once a week. And then they also have another type of group therapy that I cannot recall. I mean, it really kind of depends on, I know they do like a new dance therapy that just actually started this week. A couple girls signed up for that. So they have a variety of like 5 or 6 different therapy groups. Some are optional, some are mandatory. And so I just talk to these girls really because if they're going to sign up for something that's going to affect their workload with me. And so I have to kind of really be really flexible and creative and how to make sure that these girls still get their work hours, because if they start signing up for too much stuff, they seem to forget that they have a job, and that is kind of therapy as well. So I really kind of help them balance things out, and sometimes it takes a couple weeks, but then honestly, they get that paycheck and it's about half the amount that it used to be, and then they decide to, oh well, I'll skip dance therapy this week and I'll come back to work a little bit more. And so, it's funny, money's magical for these girls. So it's they're all at that age where it's like they want to start saving for a car. They don't have parents to help them with things, and so the state only gives them a certain amount of money for a clothing allowance, and they want to get their nails done, they want to get their hair done and things like that. So having a job is super important to them. As soon as they start getting those things and then they start going without, they realize that it's nice to have some money in your pocket. So I really help them balance those things. Like if I work really closely with the therapist, and if we see that a client is struggling in a certain area, then I will purposely lay off work a little bit so they can be a little bit more in tune with certain therapies that they may need to attend and whatnot. So it takes a lot of work to balance stuff like that. But the therapists really believe on how important work is for these girls as well. And so they do a phenomenal job with making sure that therapies are offered just Mondays and Tuesdays, kind of back to back, so that way they can work Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays. And so like I said, I just balance it really well with the therapist, and we seem to work it out where the girls are able to do both, which is really important.
Yeah, for sure. So a couple other questions that girls have. Let's see here. How many hours or how long does it take to make a pillow? If you were to go start to
from beginning to end, if I put one girl on a pillow completely, it would probably take about 3 hours. So one girl per pillow. That goes from measuring and cutting the fabric. Well, we would start with even screen printing it now, measuring and cutting the fabric, pinning it all together, sewing it, fraying it, sewing the button on, the medallion on, and then packaging it. That's probably in the beginning stages of it. At the very end, if they've been working for a while, they should be able to get a pillow done in about 2 hours in order to maintain the quality.
Okay, that's a significant, amount of time, I think. I think that's a really good, I don't know, as a representative, I would love that information. So that was a great question. Thank you, Tracy, for asking that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that even puts more value on those pillows. And
yeah, I think, not to interrupt you, it was funny because even just this past weekend I was shopping, and I was looking at some pillows, and it was like $45. This pillow was $45, and there was nothing to it, nothing to it. And I just kind of giggled to myself because I'm like, this is a super boring pillow, and it's only $45. So I'm like our pillows are so much better than this. So it really is. I think that one thing is these pillows are very detailed, and they are all handmade, and that's something that you just don't come across these days anymore.
Right.
The girls are actually sitting at the sewing machine making them. And so everything that pillow consists of is touched by these girls. And I think that's one thing that really makes a big difference in the sale of these pillows, because nothing goes through an assembly line, nothing goes through a machine. Nothing gets done manufacturedly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely makes sense. That's really, really good information. Oh, there's a bunch of questions here. Okay. How many hours do they work for you a week on average? Would you say, with them being in school and then also working?
Yeah, I would say anywhere, during the summertime, they work, but we have lots of other different areas of the program. And so the girls tend to, I'll schedule the girls about 4 days a week. 1 or 2 of those days, I put them on other parts of the program, just because they want to interact with other kids as well. I have about 35 kids working in the program. And so if I have found that if I put them strictly on the pillows every day that they're scheduled to work, they get burned out, because it is very tedious work. And so, you know, they're sitting in one spot, or, you know, I mean, these girls love activity. And so, to sit at a sewing machine for 2.5 hours, they get really bored, and then they start to make some mistakes. And so I try and change things up for them. So typically a girl will work out of 4 shifts a week. They will work 2 of them in the sewing center, making the pillows. And then the other 2 shifts out of the week, they will then work with, you know, the other parts of the program. And then a shift is about 3 hours, 3 hours a day. So we'll do like a 9 to 12 in the morning when there's no school, or 1 to 4. When there is school, we do a 3:30 to 6:30. And so those 3 hours are 3 girls making pillows, for those 3 hours.
Awesome. More good information. Okay, so I love this. Grow us, God. I think everybody's excited to sell more pillows.
Uh-oh, slow down. I got to make some more first.
Hey, you guys are doing good. We're keeping up right now. So we're gonna.
We are.
Yep, which is great. Now we can build a little backstock, which is not a bad thing. Do the girls have a favorite pillow that they like to make?
They do. They love the Hello Beautiful. That is probably one of their favorites. And then the second one that they love is the EXO pillow. I think it's just because it's black and white. It looks a little bit more modern. Right. It's funny because quite a few of the girls who have been more traumatized, per se, that have been like downright sex trafficked, they love the Courageously Brave. So it's funny because each pillow, you can kind of figure out which pillow the girls like, what each client likes the most. And because you look at their history, and it's like, oh my gosh, no wonder she likes that pillow, because it really does have a hidden message to them. And they would never speak it. And they, like, when I ask them, well, why do you want this pillow? You know, I kind of act like, oh, why do you want that? And they're just like, because I like it. It just says a lot about me. And, you know, and I look at them and I'm like, you know what? You're totally right. Like, you take this pillow and you better walk away with pride with it. And they just smile and they're like, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jackie. And it is just so funny because it's like, you don't need to thank me. Like, it's not my pillow, you know? And so it's just, it's so cool to see them when they get to that like graduated spot. It's funny because the girls will say that it's like a competition thing. They'll look at each other's incentive ticket and it's like a competition. Well, you know, why does so-and-so have so many hours? I've worked more hours back here than her. How did she already get to sit at the sewing machine? And it's so it's constant incentive. So it's an incentive to have them continue to strive to do better because it's like a contest, you know, who's going to get the pillow first kind of thing. So that's really cool to see too, because it just keeps them motivated.
Oh yeah, for sure. A little friendly competition. You know?
Yeah.
It is very motivating. How many girls do you have working in the program right now?
I want to say 7.
Okay.
I had 7 girls, and actually just last week, Thursday, and between last week, Thursday, and today, I interviewed 4 more girls. So I could be up to 10 or 11 girls. Yeah.
Holy smokes. This is so exciting. We need to start working on some of those new ideas we talked about today.
I know. I'm ready.
I know. I am too. I am going to be working on that tomorrow. You know, one question that I have, in that I don't think I've ever even asked you, Jackie, because I remember when we were setting up the program and we presented everything, and the girls were in the room as well, and you and some of the staff, and one of the girls, you know, when we talked about what we did, who we were, what we were about, when we were kind of trying to gauge, like, would these girls be interested, you know, in making pillows and being part of the program. And, you know, we shared a little bit about who we are and that we, you know, gave back to fight human trafficking. And one girl immediately raised her arm, was like, I was trafficked. And but do these girls, do you think, the ones that you're currently work with, do they understand what we as a company are all about and what we are supporting as a company? Like, do you share that, or I mean, do they not really get that?
I do. Right when they get started, they kind of are like, they always want to know why. I think one of the first questions is, why is it always girls that just work back here? And I kind of laugh and I say, well, that's because that's how the owner wants it. And so they kind of look at me all confused. And a lot of the time I just kind of stay quiet and I give them that, the hang tag. And I just say, read this and let me know what you think this means. And so they'll read it and they kind of look at me, and depending on what kind of look I get from them, I'll either have them read it again or I'll ask them if they have any questions. And they say no. And I said, do you have a problem doing this? And they're like, no, not at all. I said, do you understand what's going on here? And they just say, yeah, they do. Some girls want to talk about it a lot more. We really try, and I'm sorry if you hear noise. I just turned off my sprinkler outside. We really try and keep personal conversation to a minimum, because it's at work, and talking about stuff like that is not a very appropriate work topic situation, or a work topic conversation, I should say, because we really try and keep home life and work life separate. That's one thing that I really strive on with every kid, male or female, that basically comes in through the program. And so they, once they kind of get that, then they don't really talk about it much, unless they're having a really bad day and they need to talk about something. Then that's where I really, I just kind of trust my instinct with them, and I just pull them aside and I say, hey, are you okay? And sometimes they'll start crying, or no, I want to talk to you. And I always ask them if they can wait till it's the end of the shift. Can you get through today? And sometimes they'll say, no, I need to talk to you right now. And so I'll talk to them, I'll pull them to my office and we'll have a little therapy session, that I call it. And a lot of the time the girls are like, I just don't want to work. I'm not in the mood to work. I can't take it. I'm so stressed out. And I really just say, you know what? I bet you anything, if you stay at work, you're going to forget about why you're stressed out. I said, so let's just try it. And 9 out of 10 times, within half an hour, they're laughing and they totally forgot why they were in my office crying. So it's work is amazing for these girls, and they don't get it until like something like that happens. And then they really do realize how important it is to them, and just for their everyday well-being and that consistency of work, and the consistent expectation from them. It's I don't know, it's just awesome.
Wow. So powerful. A couple other questions here. Where are most of the girls from? I kind of know the answer to this, but yes, can you share about where they're from?
Yep. We get them, well, a lot of them are from Kent County. A large majority of them are from Kent County. We have some from Genesee County, which is like the Flint area. We have some from Detroit area. We have had a couple from Chicago area, but about 70% are from Kent County.
I think that's that's powerful and mind-blowing. And so, just knowing that Kent County, for those of you who are not local, I mean, that's in Grand Rapids. So that's right here where we are.
Yeah, I will say this, even for those of you that do know Grand Rapids area or aren't familiar with it, we've had our most recent client even has been from Forest Hills, and that is a very wealthy area in Grand Rapids. And who would think that a girl would be sex trafficked in that area, but it totally happened. And her parents made over $200,000 a year, had no idea. They thought that her daughter was on a sports team when actually she was going out doing other things. And nobody even knew about it. And so until about a year later, and the biggest issue was her parents obviously never went to one of her games, did they? To even find out she wasn't on the team. So it's just really sad. But so she came to us, and so that she hasn't been interviewed yet, but she did fill out an application.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Jackie. That's wow. Horrific.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's really, really crazy.
It does not discriminate. You can be upper middle class, you can be upper class, and this could be your child's story, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it really could be.
Ugh, my goodness. Okay, another question is it hard for the girls to find homes, or hard to find homes for the girls after they graduate out of the program?
Sometimes. It really depends on where they're from and where they want to go back to. So I have a girl right now that has been ready to get discharged for probably about 2 months, and they just can't find a home for her to go to. She's only 16, and her plan was not independent living. It is to find another foster home, but they haven't been able to find one. And she's from, I want to say the Detroit area, but I'm not absolutely sure. But that's something that is kind of common. It's weird because some girls, like, if they're going to go back to their parents, or if they have a relative that steps up and can take them, then it goes pretty fast. But if there hasn't been an opportunity like that for these girls, then finding foster homes or even independent living homes, those are very difficult to find, especially for girls that have gone through this, because number one, they're stereotyped, and number two, they're afraid that someone is going to, once it's known that they're out, per se, people tend to think that someone's going to come find them,
Right.
if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And they don't want that involved in their home. And so it is difficult to place them, but sometimes it's not. I don't know. It's just really, it's weird. I'm not on that side too often. I just kind of hear through like the treatment plans kind of thing, the scenarios, but I'm honestly too busy to know the case for each girl and why. But that's just from my experience working there for so long. That's kind of what I've always heard.
Do these girls share their story with you, or do you know their story when you're interviewing them? Like, do you
I don't,
or do they? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know their story prior. After I interview them, it all depends on how they interview and how their references checked out. And then I will read their file just to know some history about them, so I kind of know what I'm getting myself into. I'm going to know what their triggers are. I'm going to know what is a safe conversation and what's a not so safe conversation to have with them. But I don't let the girls know that I read their files.
Okay.
So it's all just kind of confidential.
Okay. Sorry, my computer's like firing up, and I know you guys can hear it. Sounds like an airplane, right? I'm like waving at it. I've been muting myself out every time it does that. Sorry. Hold on a second. Is it really loud, you guys? No, not too bad. Okay.
Sometimes.
Okay, let's see here. And it's 10:15, so I don't want to keep you guys too much longer, but this is so amazing, and nobody cares because you're so amazing, Jackie. And this is wildly powerful, and why we do what we do. And I think it just gives us all a shot of just to go out and work even harder, because hearing the impact that just the Pillow program alone is making makes me want to like design 100 products for you guys to all make, so we can keep girls, employed and selling, and all the beautiful things that are coming from it. So
right.
Really, really powerful. We are so grateful. I see one other question here. Oh, stats on girls after they leave. I'm guessing you don't have any stats. I know stats on human trafficking can be a little tricky. But do you have any stats that you know of in particular?
I don't. I keep stats on my actual program itself. Um, as far as if they thought it was successful, if they felt like they're more job ready after getting discharged from my program.
Okay,
Um,
that's great.
so I don't really have specific stats on sex trafficked girls at all. That would probably come straight from the Manasseh home itself.
Right.
Each program kind of keeps statistics on their own programming. And so I'm sure that if I shouldn't say if, I'm sure when this grows more, and I get a lot more girls working, then that's probably something that I would need to keep some stats on. But
Yep.
I mean, to be honest with you, I haven't even thought of it. So maybe I should start kind of tracking something, because that would be pretty interesting just to even show as the program grows, to see how the stats may change, or just kind of how they increase, decrease, whatnot with the growth of the program. So that's a good idea.
Right. Thanks, Tracy. Tracy's firing all these awesome questions. Have you ever had to fire anyone?
Oh yeah. Yep. I have, yeah, and it's usually been, I'd say one of the most common things is attendance. I've had to, one thing that has been, it's very difficult is, a common side effect for these girls that have gone through this type of trauma is self-harm. And so I've had to actually fire a girl for stealing needles. I have a zero tolerance for stealing in my program. And so this one girl just kept stealing needles, and staff found her using them for self-harm. It was all superficial, just very attention-seeking and whatnot. But then it came to the conclusion that, where is she getting all these needles from? And, oh yeah, they're all the little colored ends that we use. And so I talked to her, and she admitted that she took them. And so I just had to fire her on the spot. So that was pretty difficult, because she was really good. But the funny thing is, within 3 weeks later, she came back and filled out another application, because she wanted to try and get her job back, because she knew it was a super, super stupid thing to do. And she said those stupid pins weren't worth it. So I just started laughing. I'm like, yeah, they weren't, were they? And so, and she says, I have the pins. Do you want me to bring them back? And I'm like, yeah, after you soak them in rubbing alcohol. Like, come on, I'm like, I don't care if you were just putting them through your calluses or not. Like, that's gross. And so we kind of laughed a little bit about it. And she did bring it back, when she turned in her application and whatnot. And she said, staff watched me sterilize them. And I mean, it was just kind of made into a joke. So I actually was not able to hire her back, because she got discharged. But it was a great lesson learned for her. And she has been in a great place since. And I don't follow her on Facebook. I follow her on Instagram. And I've never seen her look so healthy. So I will say that, like, mentally and even physically healthy.
Awesome. Praise God. That's so
yeah.
Cool. I remember, when we were volunteering at the Manasseh, at the house itself, when we were teaching the girls to just cut, when Danielle and I were there.
Yep.
And we had to count, the scissors when we put stuff back. We had to count. Then
yeah.
And, all of that. So
yeah, and see, and that's the thing too with my program, is they have to be trusted to a certain extent to even get into my program, because of all the things that we have. And so that's why, like, Heidi, when you went into the home, it is a lot more restricted, just to interact with these kids, because I mean, out of the Manasseh home, like right now there's 14 girls there, and only 6 of them work for me, because the other 8 just are not ready. They can't be trusted for anything. I had an interview scheduled tomorrow with this one girl, and I got a phone call today that over the weekend, staff wanted me to know that she just broke into the office and stole a whole bunch of paint, and then painted all the cameras in the living room, so that way they couldn't watch surveillance. And so they said, are you still want to interview her? And I said, yeah, I'll interview her, but I'm just going to let her know that I'm not going to hire her. 3 days later, after she calls to see if she got hired, I'm going to let her know what her references said about her. And so it's a lot of tough love that we give these girls, because they just have to know that I don't beat around the bush. You know, you're either going to make it or you're not. And if you're not going to make it, I'm going to tell you why. So that way you can get things together, because if you want to be employed, you have to meet the criteria. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So I don't beat around the bush really very much.
Well, that's good. I mean, they need the tough love and they respect you for it. You know, that's kind of what you have to do
Yeah.
in your position.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever had anyone come try and get one of the girls back after a pimp found where they were at?
No, not at work. But I know over at, I want to say about a year ago, they had like one of the guys was parked across the street. This like pimp was parked across the street, and he was supposedly communicating with one of the girls through her window. She didn't work for me, but she AWOL'd even. And then all I know is that the FBI got involved because he was like one of the most wanted in the state of Michigan or something like that for sex trafficking.
Oh my.
And they caught him, but she was already on a bus on her way to California.
Oh.
So I don't know what happened beyond that, but I do know that it's been, I mean, they've had a couple situations like that, but that's the most recent one, and that was about a year and a half ago.
Okay. I have a question about the long fringe on the pillow for the change. Yes, we did make that change, Lauren. We now on the Thankful pillow, we have cording instead. And it's just easier. Jackie, I'll let you speak to that for the sewing.
Okay. Yeah, it was, as far as the consistency with the girls, because we use that cording with the XO pillows as well. And some other ones too, I can't think of right off the top of my head. But that was the only pillow that we had that type of frame with, and to even kind of keep the inventory on that and keep the expense where it needed to be, it was just a pain, to tell you the truth. And actually, one of the biggest issues, the girls would say, "Oh, it's no big deal," but for me, because these sewing machines are very important to our program,
Right.
The fibers on that were coming loose, and they were actually getting inside the bobbin case. I don't know if any of you are familiar with sewing machines, but it was really messing up our stitching to the point where almost after every couple pillows, we had to get the air compressor and blow air into the sewing machine to clean it out. And it was just getting to be a huge mess with all the little fibers, and it was causing some major sewing machine, I don't want to say damage, but I had to call my sewing machine guy a lot to get things unjammed, to get the timing. It was just a bad situation. And so we had to swap it out. So
Sorry,
yeah,
Lauren.
the girls weren't the girls weren't too happy about it, because, oh, well, we'll just use the air compressor. And it's like, yeah, but you guys aren't seeing the bill that comes every time Dr. J's sewing machine repair guy shows up to fix the sewing machine. I'm like, you guys, I just can't do it. I couldn't do it anymore. So we did have to change that one part of the pillow.
$90 pillows, yeah. $90 pillows, yeah, exactly. That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Anybody else have any other questions that you're thinking of? Seriously, Jackie, we'll have to have you back again after girls process a little bit, and maybe they'll come up with some more questions. And as we, as our program grows and expands, and, I think there's just some really great, amazing opportunities that we have with you, and just with your heart and your passion and your belief in what we're doing. And you get to see firsthand, the actual effects of what our pillow program is bringing about with these women. And we don't get that. So this is just really powerful for all of us and for all of our reps. And I know the reps to come who will be listening to this. I think it does just fuels our fire to get out there and just really be selling these pillows and promoting, Crown Free in our program and what we're doing. So thank you for what you're doing.
Awesome. No, thank you. If you ask me, I have the best job out of everybody. So,
so
no, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it every day. I appreciate every day of it.
Well, I know everybody can hear your heart. So they're all giving you big hugs over the phone and over the Zoom call here. So,
awesome.
All right, girls. Well, thanks for all your time. Thanks for being on late. Jackie, thanks for being on for us. And
not a problem.
So good. God bless you guys. We'll be in touch. I will get this call posted as soon as I can. So we'll get the replay up and you guys can listen to it again if you want. And those who couldn't join us can jump on. So, all right, guys, have a great night. Sleep well.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.